that, you will have to complete the assignments which are in your Moodle system. You will easily find that. I'll show the task at the end of the lesson. So probably let's begin with the topic of today's lesson, which is independent study of knowledge, moving from teacher dependency to learner autonomy, the importance of being autonomous, and we will generally talk about all these things. Well, let's start with the quote. Galileo Galilei once said, "You cannot teach a man anything, you can only help find it within himself." So this is the main goal of our lesson today. This is, let me say, a motto of our lesson. So we're not going to teach people anything. We will need just to find something in them and help them to develop that things. So as you have entered the higher educational establishment, now you're not school pupils and you become more independent. That means when you're studying, you should not be only dependent on your teacher. You should be able to find some kind of information of your own to teach yourself with the help of the teacher, of course, but mostly working independently. This is what we're going to study during this semester and as the part of this subject. Okay, so let's at first answer the question, what is independent study? It is managing your own study in between taught sessions. What are taught sessions? Well, now we're stuck in quarantine, but if we were studying traditionally, then you would go to the university every day. You would spend there 5 hours having some kind of lectures, teacher sessions, explanations. So this 5 hours which you spend at university is called a taught session. Between them, you have so many hours of free time. But this time is not actually so free. This is the time when you need to study on your own, when you need to complete the tasks given by teacher, and not only do that, but also be independent and trying to find some kind of different types of knowledge which you really need in order to develop yourself. For distance learning courses, which we are actually having now, all study may be by directed independent study. So you mostly now, in all subjects, not only in this one, studying on your own, you only have some short, brief Zoom lessons, then you go to Moodle platform and study, complete the tasks, read the assignments, and so on. So independent study skills is really crucial nowadays due to the coronavirus, unfortunately. So now I would like you to pay attention to the, to the picture. So you can see a taxi here with a driver and a passenger. So now I would like you to answer the question to me. Who of these people will be a teacher and who will be a student? You may switch on your microphones or write to the chart. How do you think? Who of them is teacher and who of them is student?
A driver is a teacher and the passenger is a pupil.
Other people? What are your opinions?
I think the passenger is a teacher.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Actually, both answers are correct. And when you were studying at school, your teacher was actually the driver. He knew the road. He directed you. He guided you. He showed you the road. He explained you every single and small detail. So if you remember from your school years, every single piece of assignment was explained, given the direct way how to do something, how to complete the task, what exactly you need to do. But nowadays, when you have entered the university, you became that driver. So teacher only gives you direction. Teacher only tells you where you need to go. So teacher sets your goal, kind of you need to be able to study and to know this at the end of the semester. And then you are the only person who knows the correct road. So if you have ever tried to use the taxi, I'm sure you have, You know that you may not know where the place where you need to go, where your destination is situated. You just tell your taxi driver that you need to go there, and that taxi driver, shows the road and directs you to that destination. So the same thing with teacher now. Teachers only tell you where you need to go, and you go there on your own. Of course, with the help of the teacher, you can always ask the teacher what to do, but it is less teacher-centered than it was when you studied at school. This is it. So, next one. What independent study actually involves? It involves guiding yourself. As I said before on the picture, you are setting correct and appropriate rules for yourself. You guide yourself. You understand what to do on your own. Next one is greater freedom. And this is actually a huge bonus of being independent in your study, because when you study with the help of the teacher only, you have only restricted hours, for example, from 10:30 till 12, when your teacher is available for you, when you can study, and you have to study for that 80 minutes, which is the length of a standard lesson at university. But when you study independently, you may choose to study for 10 minutes only, if this is enough for you. You may choose to study at 10 a.m., at 5 p.m., or whenever you want. You may study at night. Just you may choose the time which is the most comfortable for you. And this is the greatest thing about independent study skills. Next one, it involves time management. Again, the same thing as greater freedom. You may choose the appropriate time which is needed for you. You can decide to go and have dinner at first and then study, or you may study at first and only then go anywhere and do whatever you want. Next one is keeping going. That means you're not dependent on the teacher anymore, and you don't have to wait for the teacher to answer your questions. If you didn't understand some part of the assignment, you just may stop doing it, stop doing that part, I mean, and move to the next part. You may ask the teacher the questions after you have completed all the tasks, and that's how you're saving your time. Next one is making wise choices. It says for itself, making wise choices means when you decide on your own what to do, how to do, and how beneficial these things are for you. So, in order to become an independent learner, you need to gain such thing as learner autonomy. Learner autonomy is has a main idea. This main idea is that students should take responsibility for their own learning rather than be dependent on the teacher. So, if you do not understand something that teacher explains you, find that source on your own. There are so many other sources except teachers. There are books, internet, TV, libraries, whatever. There are so many sources of information where you can find the answer to your question, because there is only one teacher, and usually he or she teaches a huge number, sometimes hundreds of students. Of course, he cannot pay enough attention to everyone. So that's why you have to do that on your own. You should find different ways of finding information. This is one of the basics of studying at higher educational establishments. Next one, autonomous learner is one that constructs knowledge from direct experience rather than one who responds to someone's instructions. Again, you have committed something when you were just Googling information. You need to develop that knowledge. You need to analyze that knowledge. You need to make your own decisions. You need to move forward instead of just listening to someone's instructions, instead of just restricting yourself to doing what was assigned. You need to study more, only then you will be a successful professional in your job. Also, you know that you are a future English teachers. Mostly your educational sphere is English language teachers. So when you will become a teacher, try to give your students more autonomy. Do not make them be dependent on you. Do not make them reliant on your knowledge, on your instructions. guide themselves that they are able to work on their own, because you're not always every single minute available for them, but they need to study every single minute in order to be successful. So what needs to happen first in order to a person and to a classroom to become that one where there is an atmosphere of learner autonomy? So teacher becomes less of an instructor and more of a facilitator. So you understand the word facilitator, hopefully. It is from the word facility, which is условия. So the teacher creates facilities for students. Kinda, he gives the materials which is needed to be studied. Teacher provides students with all the necessary stuff, kinda assignments, links, books, whatever. Then student has to work on that things on his own. Should try to infer the knowledge which is needed for him or her, and save it. Then students discouraged from relying on teacher as the main source of knowledge. As I said before, students may learn from each other. For example, 100%, I give you the guarantee, there are no two people who know the same things in your group. So there is always something which one knows and another one doesn't. So you may study not only from your teacher, but from each other, from your peers. You may study from the books, from the internet, TV, whatever, newspapers, everything around us is just a source of information. So do not be only reliant on the teacher in the source of, as the source of some kind of knowledge. Next one, students' capacity to learn for themselves is encouraged. So that means you are studying not for your teachers, you're not studying for your parents, you're studying for your own interests. You are studying to become a greater person, more educated person, just to know more and to be satisfied with that. So mostly, um, when you're autonomous learner, you are happy with what you're learning and you're learning that for your own. Actually, this is true for your nowadays studies, because you have chosen to study English, separated it from biology, chemistry, and whatever. You had to study that subject at school, but now you don't have to. You only study what is interesting for you. So students encouraged to make decisions about what they learn. You decided your decision is English, so you made a priority. Your priority is the English language nowadays. So you chose not to study chemistry, not to study other subjects which are not interesting for you. Next one, students' awareness of their own learning style is encouraged. There are several different learning styles, and actually during one of the next lectures, one of the next lessons, we will discuss that things. We will help to identify each other's learning style, and it will help us to be a better students. Next one, students encouraged to develop their own learning strategies. Again, the same thing. How is it better for you to attain information? Is it better for you to watch the video or to listen to the lecture or to read a book? You decide what to do. Do whatever you want, just understand. Because not every single student has one suitable approach for everyone. Every person is different person. And during the lessons, teacher cannot use all the methods of studying in order to satisfy the needs of all the learners. Mostly we use the method which is suitable to most of the people, kind of presentations, lectures, because they combine also the text as you see on the screen right now, the lecture, which is the teacher's speech. So you can read, you can watch, you can listen. But mostly you need to study. When you study independently, you may choose to read only, or if you hate reading and you don't understand information by reading, you may choose only to watch videos. So next thing, how to successfully learn independently. There are several steps which will help you to do that. First one is identifying your goals. Remember Ariana Grande once sang, I say it, I like it, I want it, I got it. This is your goal. So see your goal, like that goal, want that goal, and only then you will reach that goal. So you need something which you really like, which you really would like to obtain, and you need to go straightly to that goal. Next one is check your comprehension. That means when you're reading or listening to something, when you're gaining some kind of information, you need to stop at one point and ask yourself a question: what I have just read or what I have just listened. Try to give yourself these questions and answer these questions in order to check how you understand the material which is being given to you. Usually teacher does that, but when you're studying independently, ask these questions from yourselves. Next one is progress over grades. It really doesn't matter whether you study your mark is 2, 3, 4, or 5, or whatever it is. Just make sure that from the beginning point till the last point, you have learned something, you have made a progress. Make sure that you are better at the end of the course than you were in the beginning of the course. This is the main thing. If you have made even a little progress, then all of this was worth it, and doesn't matter what's your mark. Marks are nothing, actually. Next one, embrace mistakes. Do not think about mistakes as about something which discourage you. This is not your fault. This is not something bad. Take mistakes as chances to develop. Look at your mistakes, try to analyze them, and try to gain some kind of experience from that mistakes. So, because if you have made it once, then in the future you will probably not repeat it, because now you know that this is the mistake and this way of doing something is incorrect. Next one, have a support community. What is support community? In your case, this is your group. Actually support each other. Be happy for each other's success. Always try to share it, because probably all of you know that when someone is happy for you, is glad to hear your successful results and achievements, you are more likely to be motivated to stay uh, encouraged to learn and to achieve some kind of further goals. The last thing is practicing using what you have learned. So you studied something, try to implement that into your life. You learned new word, use it in your speech. You have read new book, discuss it with someone. So only when you use the knowledge, it becomes something really pricey, something really valuable. Only then it is saved in your brain, and actually moves into your life because you're using them. Now you don't ask yourself a question, why do I know this thing? Now you know that this thing is just for you. It makes you a better person. So before we move to the next part, I would like to tell you that in order to be a successful independent learner and in order not to be dependent on a teacher, you need two groups of skills. First group is for all the students in general. I mean, those who study math, chemistry, economics, and so on. And the second group of skills is mostly for you, for language learners. So first group, which is common for everyone, is processing skills. There are 6 of them. First is observing. Observing means when you are able to see what is around you and to understand what is around you, to take that things into consideration, then you will be able to study more. Be curious. Be interested in things which are around you. Be glad to study them. Be glad to notice them. You know that there is a saying kind of. Mm, you're listening but not hearing me. So when you're listening to something, pay attention to that, hear that, try to save it in your brain, because every single piece of information which you are seeing and hearing around you is the source of future knowledge. It is one another step and chance for you to become successful person, to become more educated person, to become a better person. Next processing skill is, why it doesn't work, is measuring. So measuring, it is mostly about giving your mark or assessment to something. You need to try to measure how much information you have obtained, how much information do you need right now. You need to measure whether this information is more important or less important for you. So you need to make priorities and understand which is better and which is worse. Next one is classifying. So when you learned vocabulary, probably some of your teachers gave you the lists of vocabulary. You just didn't learn words because they have appeared. You grouped them, especially in the beginning. So, for example, you learned fruit at first, then you learned vegetables, then you learned piece of clothes, and so on. By classifying the information which you're studying and learning, you make that type of information easier to understand for you. So try to classify everything, group everything together, group some common things with each other. Next one is inferring. Remember, here we observed knowledge. Now we need to try to analyze it. Inferring means analyzing and trying to answer the question why it is happening like this. So, for example, when you read a methodology book and it says that young students, those who study in the primary school, needs more games to study English. You need not only to hear and remember that, but also you need to infer that knowledge. You need to answer why they need that things. Just because they are young, because it is easier for them to learn through games, because games make lessons interesting, and so on. So you need to answer the question why the knowledge I have seen is like that. Use facts, use not only facts, but sometimes you may use the prediction. You know what's prediction? It is trying to guess what is going to happen next. Uh, Probably you would agree that when you know what's going on next, then you will be less surprised if this thing is happening. So if you're less surprised, that means your life will become easier because you're anticipating problems which are happening. So next and the last one, probably the most important for us, is communicating, because we know that we're studying language. Language is only alive when we use it to communicate with each other. So you gain some kind of knowledge, use it in communication. Discuss it with your peers, discuss it with your teachers, discuss it with anyone else. Communicating and talking to other people is the most important thing. So these are mostly all the processing skills. They are used by students of all directions in order to be more successful. Now let's move to the skills which are only used by the students of language. They are divided again in a third into input skills and output skills. So input skills are listening and reading. So when you listen and read to something, there is some type of information which is put into you. If you see these black arrows, they are directed on you. So you're a learner. So while you are listening or reading, some kind of information goes into your brain. You gain the information. They are sources. So after you have gained the information while listening and reading, you only move to speaking and writing. Now you have enough information. You may infer it, you may analyze it, then you may produce it into speaking and writing, and this will be your output knowledge. So what's the conclusion of this thing? Is that at first you need to listen and read, and only then, when you have gained the information, you need to produce something by speaking or by writing. So mostly this is what I had to explain to you. So now pay attention to the screen. Here you have some words which most people associate with independent study. This will become your home task. What will